The buck stops with me. That was President Obama's response to the intelligence failures that nearly cost the lives in that failed Christmas Day bombing attempt. While expressing outrage, the president also outlined the changes he wants in the way that future threats are handled. And joining us now to discuss the plan and whether it will have any success is an expert on Middle East and anti-terrorism measures, Professor Raymond Tanter. Professor, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Michelle.
Tell us, the president said, you heard it, the buck stops with him. Was taking this degree of responsibility the right approach?
Yes, I think President Obama took the right stance by taking responsibility, but responsibility and accountability are two sides of the same coin of governance. In this respect, the president has to hold someone accountable. And all of a sudden, a man by the name of Michael Leiter, who directs the National Counterterrorism Center, seems to have escaped from being held accountable. He's quite a professional, but someone has to take the hit. If otherwise, the president's pledge to hold someone accountable becomes mere rhetoric.
Is there a chance that as this all continues to unfold, we're going to see any firings, or is everyone safe at this point?
Well, I think there are survivors in Washington, and as long as the political opposition doesn't call for any heads to roll, and the general public seems to be reassured by the plan, I doubt whether any heads, in fact, will roll.
Okay. Let's talk about this plan. What did you think of it? Do you think that it's effective, or you think that they should do something different?
Well, to spend $1 billion on technological fixes, I don't think is going to work, because it's something like a cat and mouse game between, on one hand, what the government does and then on the other hand, what the terrorists do. And the terrorists can design around most of the technological fixes. So, for example, if one of the fixes is to put something or to detect something that's in your clothing, your underwear, if you will, then the terrorists will say, okay, we'll put something in our body cavity, and the technology doesn't pick up what's inside the body cavity at this point. The full body scan, for example, cannot pick up a weapon in the crevices of an obese person, for example.
What about the no-fly list? What's your recommendation on that front?
Well, I think the president did the right thing by changing the criteria and making it easier for people who are rumored to be threats to be on the no-fly list. That said, once individuals get on the no-fly list because of these rumors, for example, if someone said, oh, I think Michelle ought to be on the no-fly list, and then they create a file for you, then Congress is going to say, hey, you've gone too far, Mr. President. So the last thing we need is for innocent individuals to be placed on the no-fly list because some enemy is opposed to them.
We always hear the famous struggle between what we'd all like to get done and then the resources we have available. Does the United States have the resources and also the cooperation of governments overseas to get airport screening in check and lead us down the road that we'd all like to see happen?
Well, Michelle, I think the resources are there, and the will is there, and the capability is there, but we need to do something about the fact that individuals are getting on planes despite the technological devices to keep them off the planes. And human intelligence is, I think, what is necessary, even more than or to complement the technology that the president has emphasized. For example, the Israelis have the safest airline in the world. Why? Because they interview people for an hour or so to find out where they've been, where they're going, how they paid for their ticket, what kind of luggage, how many friends they have in Israel. That kind of system can work in Israel because Israel is a small country. Ben Gurion Airport's about the size of Sacramento Airport in California, but we could at least adopt more of the features of the Israeli system, focusing on the nature of the human being and not just on the technological fixes.
All right. Professor Raymond Tanter. Professor Tanter, thank you so much for your insight this morning. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.